Hello and welcome back to another We Ourselves video. And today I want to talk about the Disney Plus show, Star Wars show, ANDOR. This isn't a review, but I do want to talk about my feelings about this show and what the implications are for Star Wars. Now, I mention ANDOR all the time as an example of great writing that the other Star Wars show should look at, as well as the Marvel shows, really, but the other Star Wars shows should consider. Now, I understand that some people aren't into ANDOR because it doesn't have the magical aspect of Star Wars, namely the Jedi and the Force and the things like that, but it has all the other trappings and all the other things that make Star Wars Star Wars. And so I really loved the first season of ANDOR, and as we got into the second season, I was a little iffy with the first episodes because I didn't think they were as tightly written. They're releasing them in 3 episode segments, so you have episodes 1 through 3, which could tell a complete story arc, and then the show is skipping a year between each set of 3 shows, so a year later, and I thought the next 3 episodes were better, but 7, 8, and 9 are some of the best ANDOR that we've ever had. It is peak ANDOR, it is peak Star Wars, it is peak Disney Plus Star Wars, and I think it's some of the best acting and some of the best scenes of any Star Wars. There are a lot of people who think that Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie because it's more of the war in Star Wars and it was more realistic and grounded, and a lot of people really like that. Well, if you like that, which involved Tony Gilroy, then you should like ANDOR. And these last 3 episodes were fantastic. It renewed my faith in ANDOR, and it really centers in on the rebellion, and it centers in on Mon Mothma. Now, it was the Gorman massacre that convinced Mon Mothma to finally speak out, and that led her to having to flee and become the rebel leader that we remember and we all know. So you have a live action show going back and giving you the history, not only of the Gorman massacre, but also setting up, again, the story of Mon Mothma, is bringing it to life. And so, like I said, it was excellent writing. It was tense. It had action. I mean, it had all the Star Wars elements. You had the mention of the Empire. You saw Krennic, who was back in the previous episodes. You had all these things, and we know it builds up and it leads to Rogue One, but not everybody in the show dies. Some of the people that criticize ANDOR, they missed that point. ANDOR dies, but the other people in there don't necessarily die. And so Genevieve O'Reilly, she was able to finally give her speech, and it was also chilling given our current situation to hear a senator stand up and accuse the rest of the senators of having given in to the evil and have allowed truth to be taken from the people and from that chamber. Like I said, a lot of parallels with what's going on. The thing that I want to talk about is the feelings that I had as I watched that live action version of this character's background finally given to us in a fantastic, well-written, very emotional way. There comes a point when she finally is taken off planet, and it's similar to what happened to ANDOR in the first season at the end of the first 3 episodes. Same music, just a different version playing, and there's a look on the face that you are now going into another phase of your life. You are now joining the rebellion. She has that same look on her face as ANDOR drives her away from the Imperial Senate building. She looks out at that building, and you can see it on the actress's face. She was really good. She doesn't know if she will ever see that again. And in that moment, I reminded myself, yes, this is a scary moment in your life, but you're going to go on and you're going to lead a successful rebellion, and you're going to come back because you're going to be chief of state of the new government that is set up after the fall and defeat of the Empire, and after you and Leia Organa Solo and other people piece the galaxy back together. And so it is a moment of triumph. But as I thought that, I had to remind myself that no, it's not. In the legends, in the original canon, in the books that were done by talented writers of their day who were brought in deliberately to help fill out the canon of Star Wars, and the writers have said that, they knew that that's what their job was, to help fill out the canon and the lore of the Star Wars world outside of the films and do it through the books and the comics. Mon Mothma, Leia Organa Solo, yes, I'm using her whole name, not General Solo, which y'all reduced her down to her full name. And later, Natasha Dalla, the leader of the Imperial Remnant, who comes back in the Imperial Remnant, joins the new government, and she becomes chief of state. So you had 3 women who pieced the universe together, the galaxy together. The accomplishments of Leia Organa Solo and Mon Mothma, 2 white women, by the way, in the bad days when it was just George Lucas and it wasn't diverse. You had 2 women who were at the front and at the head of the government. And so when I originally was looking at this scene, it's like, she doesn't know that it's going to be a triumph for her. And as I thought about her story arc, I got excited, but then I got sad because they've changed it. Under Disney Plus, under the time of them supposedly being woke and doing all these things, what they have done, ironically, which tells the lie about the whole push for diversity, you had diversity in the expanded universe. It was 2 women who pieced the galaxy back together, but you took their efforts and you bastardized their efforts. You threw their efforts in the trash. Because J.J. Abrams, who doesn't care about lore, came in and said, oh no, the New Republic, it failed after 30 years and they didn't see that the First Order was growing out there, and so now they're destroyed. And once he said that and they allowed that to happen, now everybody has to rewrite history. So Mon Mothma's triumph in the expanded universe, Leia Organa's triumph in the expanded universe. What the authors wrote for these characters beyond the film, all of that was thrown in the trash. And so this new era of supposedly woke Disney actually devalued the accomplishment of these women, including Mon Mothma. And it hits even harder because she looks at Andor and she says, I don't know how to thank you. And he looks at her and says, make it all worthwhile. In the expanded universe, she did. She is ultimately triumphant. In the new Disney canon, she's a loser because her government fails after 30 years. Because she doesn't see the corruption and she doesn't see the First Order out there. They've taken the accomplishment of women and they've trashed it to put, ironically, men back in charge, Snoke and Hux. And so the Mon Mothma that you see in the first season of Ahsoka is a pale shadow of what you got in this show and what you got in the movies. That's what they did to a character, a woman no less, who put the galaxy back together. She used all of her training just like Leia did, her counseling, her Senate work. Both of these women used their experience to govern and put together a new republic that wasn't going to make the mistakes of the old one, which fell to the Emperor and the Sith and became the Galactic Empire. They've taken their accomplishments and they've thrown it in the trash. That is what went through my mind as I realized that because of what J.J. Abrams did and what he was allowed to do, everything points to a sorry future. Everything points to the Star Wars sequels. And that, to me, is the real tragedy. And so I'll enjoy Andor for what it is. I will imagine that what she goes on to do is what she does in the extended Legend universe. In fact, I might even go back and re-listen to the audiobooks, because not only did you have the audiobooks, but they put in the music cue from John Williams. They had the sound effects. It's as if you're watching the real thing. And I can imagine that these were the real Disney Plus shows that were done. These were the real movies that were done. Watch Andor. It's phenomenal storytelling, phenomenal sci-fi, a phenomenal sci-fi fantasy, and it was phenomenal Star Wars. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say today. As always, like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you the next time.